Hello and welcome to part 3 of the series on how to create a Twitch UI with ReactJS. In this part we are going to talk about 3 new components and we are going to implement one of them. So let's get started right away. So to start off we are going to talk about 3 components. Those components are the link component, the button component and the icon button component. For the link and button component we have 3 different variations. For the link we have a primary link right here, a secondary link right here and a tertiary link right here. For the button component we have a primary button right here, secondary right here, and the tertiary right here. For the icon button component, we only have one component, which is this one. So let's break it down. So as you can see, we have 3 components, the link, the button, and the icon button. And underneath the link and the button, I wrote 3 extra components, which are the primary, secondary, and tertiary. I'm going to draw a line right here, because at the top we have components. These are components. And at the bottom we have variations of that component. So for the icon button there's no variation. But for the link we have a primary, secondary and tertiary variation. If we look at the page, the primary is a white link which becomes purple when we hover over it. A secondary is purple and becomes underlined when we hover over it. And the tertiary is gray and becomes purple when we hover over it. Same goes for the button. Button is purple, primary, secondary is gray, and tertiary is also gray, but a little bit different than the secondary. So how are we going to implement this? We are going to create the link component. In our components folder, we are going to create a link, and we are going to create the link.css and the link.tsx. Then we are going to import React and our CSS. Then we are going to export the default function, and then we are going to return an A tag, which will say I am a link. Next we are going to implement this link in our navbar, in our navigation section. So right here we are going to import our link, like so. And as you can see, our link is appearing right here. But our link is not centered, and in the Twitch UI the link is centered. So to fix this, we are going to give a display of flags to our navigation section, and we're going to say that we want to align the items centered. But right now the image is being scaled up way too high, so to fix this we are going to give the A tag a display of content. So right now the image is directly being placed in its div and the A tag is actually kind of being ignored. So we're going to implement this in our code. We're going to move the class name logo to our A tag. So when we access the logo we actually have the A tag, and then inside of the A tag we have our image, as you can see, the A tag, image tag, this is the A tag, this is the image tag. So now the image tag is 100%, and then our A tag will have a display of contents, like so. And right here we have our image back to its original size and the link centered next to it. So nice. Next up we are going to style the link. As you can see right here, the link is white and becomes purple when we hover over it. We're going to start with the primary style. So in our link we are going to give it a class name, which will be link. And we're actually going to call it primary link because it is the style of the primary link. In our link.css we're going to add a primary link. We're going to give it a color of white and an underline or a text decoration of none. So if we save this up, we won't get an underline and the link is white. And then when we hover over it, we want it to become purple. And the purple color is actually a color which we have defined in our app.css, and it is the primary color. So if we look right here, we have our primary color, which is purple. So if we now hover over the link, we'll see that it becomes purple. Next we want to make the link a little bit bigger. So font size of 1.1 rem, like so. And then we want to give it a little bit more weight. The font weight is 500, like so. Next up we want to create 3 links, so we can actually see the difference between the primary, the secondary and the tertiary link. So in our navigation section we're going to create a second link and a third link, and we actually want to be able to change the text of the link. So how are we going to do that? Because we can only create a component. Well, we are going to use parameters. We are going to create an interface. And in this interface, we will say that we expect a label, which is of type string. So now we're going to implement this interface into this function. We're going to say label, and this is of type props. So right now the error is from the link, as you can see right here, and it says property label is missing in type, but required in type props. So to fix this, we have to pass a label, which will be, let's see, primary for this one. This label will be secondary, and this label will be tertiary, like so. And if we save this up, we don't see the label. Why not? Because we still have to use the label right here. So right here, we are going to say that we want to display the label. And as you can see, we have our primary, secondary, and tertiary labels being displayed. So that's really nice. But our primary, secondary, and tertiary links look exactly the same. We actually want them to look different. So how are we going to tackle that? Well, we are going to do the same as we did with the label. We are going to create a couple of parameters. We are going to create a primary parameter, a secondary, and a tertiary. And then in our code, we are going to say, if we get the primary, return this link. If we get a secondary, return this. So right here, we expect a primary, secondary, and tertiary. And we actually want to make those nullable. So what does this mean? The label is required. So if we look at here, we do need to give the label, otherwise we get an error. But the primary parameter is optional by the question mark. And so we don't have to pass it in. It is an optional value. And that's actually good because we don't want to be passing in primary, secondary, and tertiary. So inside of our code right here, we're going to check if it is a primary button, else if it is a secondary button, and else if it is a tertiary button. And then else we might want to return something if nothing is given. So we want to return this for our primary button. We want to return this at the end, and also for the secondary and tertiary, like so. And if we save this up and refresh the page, we'll see nothing changing. But what we can do is we can now say that this will be a primary button, this will be a secondary, and this a tertiary. So now it is actually returning the piece of code that is in this if statement. So our primary link is already complete. Now we are going to work on a secondary and a tertiary link. We're going to change the class names to secondary link and tertiary link, and we're going to refresh the page. And as you can see, they are not styled yet. So in our link.css, we're going to define our secondary link, and we want to give it a color of primary color, a text decoration of none, and then when we hover over it, we want to give it a text decoration of underline, like so. So this is our secondary link, which looks like this one. And when we hover over it, we get a nice little underline, which is exactly like this one. So that's good. We only want to make it a little bit bigger. So font weight equals 600. Nice. Okay, good. And to be consistent, we are also going to put the font size to 1 rem, like so. And next we are going to work on the tertiary button, which is gray and it becomes purple. So we are going to say tertiary link. Sorry, I think I said button, but I meant link. For the color, we are going to say RGBA 255, 255, and then 0. Let's see, 65. And then we want to say that we want to use the same font size and same font weight, like so. We want to remove the underline, text decoration none, and then we want to add the hover effect, which will give a color of primary color, like so. So now we have our tertiary button, our tertiary link, sorry, appearing as well, and we actually don't want the font weight of 600. So now we have this. So that's really good. We have our primary, secondary and tertiary button, but we want them to be a little bit more spaced out from each other. We're going to do that by passing in a style. So right here, we're going to give another optional parameter of type CSS properties, like so. And then we want to use it right here. And we're going to apply this to here as well, to here, and to this one. And in our navigation section, we now can define a style. So in our styling, we can say margin left, and then for example 20 pixels. And as you can see, the first button, or well, the first link has a margin left of 20 pixels. And if we give the second link a styling of margin right of 20 pixels, we will see that the secondary link has a margin right of 20 pixels. We are going to set this to 20 pixels horizontally and 0 pixels vertically. And we are going to copy this over to the other two links, like so. And now each link has a little bit of spacing between each other. And we're actually going to create a const value for this, so we don't rewrite this code, but we are going to reference it. So we have const link style equals CSS, what was it? CSS properties equals margin 0 pixels, 20 pixels, like so. And if we save this up and apply it right here, and then copy it over to here and to here, we have the same result, but now the styling is only defined one time right here, which removes the redundancy in our code. So that's nice. So instead of rendering a primary, secondary and tertiary link, we are going to remove the booleans from them, or the attributes, and now they will all be primary, and we are going to change it into browse, esports and music. Like so, and now we have our links appearing right here. So good job, we now have created a link component which has 3 different types, a primary, a secondary and a tertiary type, and we can also give a custom label to it, and we can also apply a custom style to it. So I want to thank you for watching. I hope you could follow along. Leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye!